Alright, today I'm going to show you how to make a camera system that will make sure every actor you want is in frame. I will also show you how to switch what actors you want to track. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, for setup, what I've done is I made a new level. I added a cube and extended it out. I added a nav mesh bounds, so if I press P, you can see the nav mesh. And I made a character. The character is pretty straightforward. All it is a simple AI that will move to a random location on the nav mesh every few seconds. I made a game mode, so in my world settings, I'm using my game mode, which just sets the default pawn to this character. So that's the setup. Now I'm going to make the camera. So I'm going to right click, blueprint class, actor, and it's going to be my camera. Here's for VP. I'm going to open that up. So in the viewport, all I need for components is I need an arrow. I'll explain what the arrow does later. And then I need a camera. Make sure the camera is not attached to the arrow. Okay, once we have that made, I'm going to drag and drop our camera into the world somewhere. And cool. We go to the event graph. Off of event begin play, I'm going to right click and say get player controller. I'm going to pull off of this and say blend. Set view target with blend. So the target is the player controller. New view target is self. So what this is doing is it's changing the camera view from our character to this actor, but we're not possessing this actor. We still possess our original character. So to test if this is working, if I press play, you can see that our camera viewport is where our camera actor is located. So there's that. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to get an event tick. And off of that, I'm going to get all actors with tag. So get all actors with tag. And under the tag, I'm going to say character. So the reason I'm using get all actors with tag and not maybe get all actors with classes, because I want to be able to track anything in the world. All I have to do is just add the tag and it will track. So that being said, off of what we're going to do first is we're going to get the distance, the furthest actor from our current actor, our camera. So out actors, I'm going to pull off and say for each. Plug this in here. I'm going to pull off the array element and say get location. Get actor location. I'm going to click on this node and control W. That'll give me 2 of these. Then I'm going to subtract. So this is going to get the difference between these 2 vectors. I'm going to pull off of the subtract and say length. Vector length. Off of vector length, I'm going to pull off and say ABS. So what we're doing is we're getting the difference between the 2 actors locations. We're getting the length of that difference. And the ABS will make sure it's always a positive value. I'm going to pull off of ABS and do greater than. Off of this, where it's the second option, I'm going to right click and say promote to variable. I'm going to say most distant vector. I'm then going to hold B on the keyboard and click for loop into the branch. That into that. Make some space. I'm then going to set under true the most distant actor to ABS. I'm then going to make a new variable, and this is going to be most distant vector, and this is going to be type vector. Plug that in here, and then where it says get actor location off of the array element, I'm going to plug that into the most distant vector. Make sure you're using reroute nodes to keep everything nice and neat. Alright, last thing we need to do for this is we want to check this. We want to change this value every frame. We want to make sure that we're tracking the most distant actor. So what we want to do is after get all actors with tag, I'm going to drag and set the most distant actor back to 0. The reason I'm doing this is because if an actor goes really, really far, we're just going to keep checking that value even if the actor is no longer that far. So we want to check every single frame who is the farthest actor. after they complete it, I'm going to say draw debug. I'm going to say draw debug sphere. There we go. The center point is going to be the most distant vector. Radius is 100, line is 1, duration can be 1. Thickness is going to be 5. Right after event tick, I'm going to say flush persistent debug lines. So what this is doing is it's just going to draw where the most distant actor is. Alright, so I've opened up my actor. If you're curious about how I'm doing the AI, it's super simple. I'm just doing a custom event, simple move to location, and every few seconds I'm just going to tell it to do it again. But what's important is the tag. So I go to class defaults, and under the search I type in tag, and under tags I'm going to do a little plus sign. This enum is from a previous thing, we'll get into that later. So under tags I'm going to type in character. Alright, so if everything works right, when you add tag to your actor, the character tag, and press simulate, you can see this white sphere around an actor. So this is the actor that is furthest away. So that's working, that's good. So now we actually got to track these within our screen. So I'm going to do is I'm going to get our camera. I'm going to say set world location. I'm going to do an vinterp on the location, vinterp 2. I'm going to control W for our camera to get duplicate that. Get world location. Plug that into the current. Under delta time, I'm going to pull off and say get world delta seconds. Interrupt speed is going to be 5. And then it's going to be a little tricky for the target. What we're going to do is we're going to get our arrow, and we're going to get the forward vector. So what we're doing is we're offsetting the camera, we're offsetting the camera based on which way this arrow is pointing. So if we have the arrow pointing down like at 45-degree angle or something like that, the camera would go up in that way. Okay, so get forward vector. I'm going to multiply that by a float, so vector minus float, vector multiply by float, and do -1, so that reverses it. I'm then going to pull off and do a multiply. Multiply by float. And I'm going to right click, promote a variable, and that's going to be called camera distance. So this is going to determine how far back the camera goes. Lastly, I'm going to add vector plus vector, and I'm going to add get actor location. So we're adding this value with our actor's value, actor's location. So this is going to get really messy really fast. So I'm going to highlight all this, right click, and collapse the function. And this is going to be set camera position. So now we need to set that camera distance value. So the way we do that, we get actor transform. I'm going to inverse location, inverse transform location, and then I'm going to get most distant vector. So what this is doing is it's changing this vector from a world location to a relative location based on this actor. So we want to get distance from this actor, not necessarily the world origin. Off the return value, I'm going to pull off and say vector get ABS. Okay, so this is going to make it a positive value all the time. I'm going to pull off this and say distance vector. We really only need to track the furthest actor away, and that's how we're going to know how far away this camera should be. Because as long as the furthest actor away is in frame, everything else will be as well. So I'm going to get the distance from its positive value and the distance from its negative value. So I can do vector ABS multiplied by -1, put that in, and this is going to determine our camera distance. So we put and set. I'm then going to highlight all this, collapse to macro, and that's going to be camera distance logic. Alright, so now if we press simulate, if we press play, it should be moving back. Yep. So now based on this actor's movements, the one with the white sphere, that's going to determine how far back our actor goes. Alright, so one more thing I want to do with the camera distant logic is I just want to clamp it so it's never going too far back. So I'm going to say pull off of this, say clamp float. Here. Under the min, I'm going to promote a variable camera distance min. And I'm going to put this at a value of 750. And then on the max, I'm going to promote a variable camera distance max. And this is going to be a ridiculous value like 10,000. So this way the camera just doesn't get sucked into the actor it's tracking or anything like that. It's always going to be at a reasonable distance. Alright, so next thing we gotta do is we gotta actually move this actor in between. I want to get the average location between all the actors we're tracking, and I want to move our camera actor, not the camera, just the actor, to the middle of that. So the reason I'm doing that is that way I get a really accurate representation of who is the actor that's the furthest away. That's what I want to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull off of the out actors under here and say get actor average location. I'm going to get rid of this draw debug tree. We don't want to need it. Off of completed, I'm going to plug that into here. I'm then going to plug this into this. I'm going to click on our set actor position. Under inputs, I'm going to add input. It's going to be type vector, and it's going to be called target. So the return value goes here. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to go into our set camera position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set actor location. Set actor location. I'm going to do a vinterp 2. I'm going to get actor location. Under delta time, I'm going to say get world delta seconds. Under interp time, I'm going to say 5. And under the target, it's just going to be plug target into target. So now when we press play, our actor should be moving into the middle. Yep, so the actor is moving and so is the camera now. So the camera is moving back to keep everything in frame. The actor itself is moving to be in the center of all these actors we're tracking. So that's working. Last thing I want to do is I want to rotate the camera just a little bit. So I'm going to get our camera, pull off, and say set world rotation. I'm going to pull off of this and say Rinterp 2. Again, I'm going to get the world delta seconds, Control W for that. Interp speed is going to be 5. I'm going to grab our camera again, pull on and say get world rotation. That's going to be our current. Our target is going to be find look at. So find look at rotation. The target is going to be the target. The start is going to be the camera's location. So get world, not transfer, get world location. Right, so it's tracking all of our actors. It's moving and it's rotating to face the center position. Cool. So last thing we're going to focus on is we're just going to change what the camera is tracking. So to do that, I'm going to go to my content browser tutorial. I'm going to right click, make a new enum. So under blueprints enum, it's going to be objective enum. I'm going to make two new variables. It's going to be character and objective. In our camera, I'm going to make a new variable, and this is going to be objective enum. Objective enum. In the event graph, I'm going to get our objective enum, and I'm going to plug it into tags. I'm also going to, off the player controller, I'm going to pull off and say enable input. The target should be self. The player controller should be our player controller. So what this is doing is it allows this actor to accept inputs, and we're going to use that just for testing purposes. So I'm going to right click, hit the 1 key, do a flip flop, and I'm going to be setting our enum. So in the A, I want it to be tracking objective. In the B, I want it to track character. Okay. Alright, so in our character blueprint, I'm going to make a new variable. It's going to be objective enum. And it's going to be variable type objective enum. I'm going to right click on the construction strip and say get tags. I'm going to clear the tags. That way I don't have any duplicates or any unnecessary tags I don't want. I'm going to pull off the tags again and say add. Plug that in here. I'm going to get our objective enum, plug that into here, and make sure the objective enum is set to character. Perfect. I'm going to highlight all this, Control C, and make a new blueprint actor. That's going to be objective underscore BP. Open that up. I'm going to add a static mesh. Now I'm just going to pick something random like a chair. Under the construction script, I'm going to Control V. Since this variable is grayed out, I'm just going to right click, create variable enum. I'm going to click on our objective enum and make sure it's objective. So now if I drag this into the scene, and now I press play, so we're tracking the characters right now. If I hit the 1 key, now we're tracking the chair. The 1 key again, tracking the characters. So there you go, there you have it. Just something to note. You may have actors come off screen, and that's all dependent on your camera angle you set it at, or the angle of the arrow you set. I'm going to link in the description below a video of where you can show widgets for any actors that go off screen. I hope you learned something.